everybody wants a piece of this whole story. And there's one sort of uniting theme amongst the whole damn thing, and it's the men's fault. And that's really where it comes down to. And the reason why I wanted to talk about accountability today and sort of the Lilly scam is because there's a few things that are going on here. One is that women are never held accountable for jack shit. And even Matt Walsh is starting to see the writing on the wall, which actually surprises me. And in fact, I'm gonna dig up Matt Walsh's thing. I'm gonna have to actually simulcast it here real quick. So let me see if I can see what I can do for you guys here. Yeah, so he was talking about this, and I don't have it downloaded, so I'm gonna have to. I will have to. Where'd it go? Where's Matt? Matt Walsh. There you are. Matt Walsh is almost ready to take the red pill. Like, he's almost there. Okay. Should I just simulcast this? Yeah. I want to push this on here. Grab that. There we go. Okay. I'm going to have to share screen, don't I? And audio too. All right. This is what Matt Walsh had to say, but I'm going to pretty much the whole first half of the video. It's like 15-minute video. First half of the video, he's just telling you what she's about. He knows nothing what she's about, or he can't say what she's really about, like I just did. But the second part of this is actually the sort of the more salient part of this whole thing. So I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to push it right to about maybe the 6-minute mark there.
Can't. I mean, it's like getting smacked in the face with a 2x4. Like the account. That's how obvious it is. You can't miss it. But let me try to make sense of it. The only way to make sense of this double standard, where two people, man and woman, can willfully engage in a certain act, an act that in this case with Lilly Phillips, not only are she willfully engaged, she is initiating it, inviting the men, advertising it, selling it, making money on it. The only way to look at that and say, oh, the man is exploiting her, not the other way around. The only way to do it is to say that the man is the leader.
There we go.
The man is in charge. That the man is basically the captain of the ship. And so he gets the blame when the ship goes down, even.
Okay, that's where I want to stop right there. Thank you. We'll keep this up and going. But that whole thing about the man is the leader, and the part where it's like the man, it's always men's fault, right? We can always say, but how do they characterize this, especially when it comes to sort of tradcons? Okay, they characterize it in the sense that if men were better, then women will be better. And anything that is a failure of sort of moral degeneracy, anything is Lilly Phillips, a perfect example. She wouldn't exist if men were better. If men weren't going and lining up, 100 guys lining up outside the freaking apartment to go and bang her, in 7 to 8 minutes. I can imagine those guys go, oh man, he gets off in 3 minutes. He goes, shit, I have 4 more minutes. But no, I mean the guys who are lining up around it. I don't even know why we're even looking at that, because I think it was on was it The Atlantic or I forget what. Oh, the Spectator. Spectator had an article out saying that the whole situation with Lilly Phillips is just this horrible, despicable, atrocious, whatever. And all the men who are involved should be put to death, right? Or they should be their name should be put out there, and basically, they need to be punished for this, like the 100 guys that showed up. And I thought about that, and I'm like, why would that even be a thing? And I think Matt's kind of like realizing this as well. Like, why would that be the first go-to? Well, because in general, and I'm not even saying this is Lilly Phillips, I'm just saying women in general do not like the idea of accountability. There's no agency, there's no free will, there's nothing until there is. So I was also watching just recently, Myron and Fresh were here in Las Vegas, and they were using the who was it? Sean Kelly's studio, and they're having a conversation with 4 girls in that studio. And one of the things that Myron brought up was that he treats women as if they're children, because they don't want to be held accountable, just like a child doesn't want to be held accountable for their own actions, right? So if a child has a tantrum and wants a toy in the grocery store or something like that, and you spank it, you act accordingly. You're the parent and that's the child, right? And if that's the behavior that is constantly put out there, if that's what men can expect from women, then why wouldn't men, if men are the leaders and men are the ones that are the only ones that have any kind of agency and are the only ones that have any kind of responsibility for the actions of those women and those children, sometimes being the same thing at once, then why not treat them as children? But the problem is when you are Myron Gaines or Rollo Tomasi or whoever, and you say, I treat women as if they're children. I'm not saying I do, but I'm just saying that I read this last week when I was talking about the big head babies dynamic, right? And the male protector dynamic, and how men see women in the same kind of subconscious sense as they do children, because they're in need of protection and they are in need of guidance and they are in need of having someone make those decisions for them. Well, the problem is women get really indignant about that because like, I'm an adult, I can make my own decisions, I make my own damn money. Like these women, like the girl I showed you in the very beginning of this of my videos, she's there with her mother and she made over $1 million, and mom's just kind of like, if you're happy, I'm happy. It's like two children talking to each other. Like, oh, you make the money, so what's she going to say? You're a millionaire. You're probably going to make even millions more. I'm your mom and I need help. I'm just working a 9 to 5 here. If you're happy, I'm happy. Well, what does she have to do to get that? Does she have to bang 100 guys in 24 hours? So when I have brought up in the past, when I brought up the fact that men have sort of this innate, evolved sense of seeing women as children, and I think in the sense that women in this sense that women need to have the responsibility for their own actions covered or preempted or limited or in some way I would say prevented, protected by men. Like I brought up this fact, I think it was some feminist or somebody said this, or whenever we were talking about, would you choose the man or the bear in the forest? That bullshit. Oh, choose the bear, or I choose the man would never. And the thing is the reason why they say they would choose the bear over the man is because they're inherently distrustful of men, and they think that men are going to take over their freedom of their choices and everything else. And then of course they'll say, well, women need men's protection. And of course, the next thing out of their mouths is protection from what? And assuming you're going to say other men, right? Well, it's those other men. If they were better men, then there wouldn't be any need for protection. Bullshit. Whenever I hear that, now my response is to protect them from themselves. So when women are saying, well, protect me from what? Yourselves, your bad choices. We have this euphemism about how was it mansplaining, right? That stands for man explaining. Like he's explaining to you that if you go and try to pet the fucking bear, it's going to rip your head off. I don't believe you. Fuck you. Goes out there and rips it just completely mauls the girl and she's dead. Well, that's the breaks, I guess. But I think that when people hear Myron say something like, I treat women like children, I think he does. I think he's 100% earnest about that. I think he does it for a different reason, or he has a different sort of concept than I do. Like when he's saying, because his concept is rooted in responsibility and accountability. If women won't be held accountable, and I will be, then I have to treat you like a child. Then I have to, by default, until you show me otherwise, I have to by default treat you as a child. Because if you're going to blame every action, every one of your own actions, or if you're going to not want to be held accountable for banging 100 guys, right? Let's just say for sake of argument, if you don't want to be held accountable for those actions, and I am, because by default I'm the man and I'm supposed to be the leader, as Matt was saying, then by default, is it not a better policy for me as Myron Gaines to just treat you, just blanket treat you as if you're a child until you can prove to me otherwise? And I can understand where he's coming from that, but it's really all of that, like that sort of instinct, I think that Myron is sort of like trying to formalize, is really based and rooted in the evolutionary instinct of men looking at women as if they need the protection because they're fragile. That's why the male protector dynamic exists, as I was saying last week. That's why men will jump in front of live ammunition to take a bullet for women that they don't even know right there in the moment. I mean, if you give them time to think about it, they might not do it. But right there in the moment, if it's an instantaneous decision, men they'll turn into a white knight. They'll do it just by default because it's just part of our instinctual sort of evolutionary hardwiring. It's baked into our brains. Unless we have the time to sort of consider the consequences of doing that, right? Which most don't. And honestly, I think that's one of the reasons why you look at someone like Matt Walsh, or you look at, feminism versus conservatism, just for sake of argument here, is remember what the goals of each one of those is it's to, in some way, exploit the male protector dynamic for the benefit of women from within the context of conservatism or from leftist liberal feminism, however you want to dice that up. So, but what both of them rely on, both conservative and feminism right now, is that men are supposed to be the leaders. Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. One of the things my very first tweet, which by the way went like to 100,000+ views on it. I don't know if that necessarily counts as viral, but the first thing I said is that women are sinless and have no moral agency. Now I'm doing this as bait, right? Don't get me wrong. But it says sarcasm. That never really works on Twitter either. But I put this out. I said women are sinless and they have no moral agency. Now, women do have agency. Their agency is their sexuality, which is why they take their clothes off immediately, which I'll talk about here in a moment. But the reason why I threw that one out there is because I knew what was coming. I knew exactly what was coming after this, and I even brought this up on the prior show. Is that as soon as this is on Access Vegas, I said as soon as it gets expedient for women to blame it on men, they will. They'll say it's going to be those guys. It's going to be the men's fault. And sure as shit, that's exactly where they went. And I knew they were going there, and that's why I said women are sinless. They are automatons, right? They're robots. They have no free will. They have no moral agency. They have no real agency. And if men are expected to be the leaders, then men need to take over and take back that authority. Now, that was meant to sort of bait people into the conversation. Well, of course they have moral. Me personally, I don't necessarily believe that. But they absolutely have moral authority, and they should be held accountable for their actions. When people ask me, Rollo, do you think we should repeal the 19th? I'm like, well, first of all, that's stupid and untenable. But even if we could do that, what are you going to do as a guy? Now you have taken over the moral agency of that woman. That's why, if you remember the Kamala Harris advertisement, I think it was like Julia Roberts was in it, right? And they're like looking at each other like, okay. It's like you got this fat, MAGA hat dude going, okay, honey, you know who to vote for. Oh, I'm going to go have a light beer out here, and they look at each other because they're the smart, peppy, moxie, progressivist girls who are just sort of faking it, right? We're not actually MAGA girls. We're actually Kamala girls, and we're going to vote for her, right? That whole thing right there, that the reason why that even exists is because they want women to believe that they have some sort of moral agency, right? And that agency in this case is vote for Kamala. They're playing on that just in the same way that young ladies such as Lilly Phillips have learned to play on the conservative side of things, and how to essentially pander to this moralism. She's making she made $10 million bucks off of fuck in a week, and all she had to do. I mean, how much of that do you think the documentary team saw? Did they make it? I don't even think they made anything, right? And she's on there saying I would do it for free. Like, I don't think so. But I wanted to point this out because Matt's going to go into a little diatribe here about male leadership, and I think he's conflicted here. Because honestly, I think Matt might have read the conversations that went along with my initial tweet here, because my initial tweet was they're going to blame it on the guys. They're just going to say that it's men's fault that she had to do this in the first place. It's what Ryan Stone calls it Schrodinger's feminist, right? So it's accountability when it works for her, and it's no accountability, and it's men's fault when it doesn't, right? And so it's this state of sinlessness. It's this state of a complete lack of free will, and then a complete lack of moral agency. So ladies, and even Matt says this here, and he'll say it in a second here, is like, you don't get it both ways. You can't have it both ways. So I'm going to say this right now. If you're ladies, if you're watching this and you have some sort of like moral issue with me or hell, even maybe Matt, if you have some sort of moral issue with guys not stepping up, and the only reason women are the way they are is because men won't step up to the plate and be leaders. As soon as they do, then you cry foul. That's when you say, oh, these guys are narcissists. These guys are, they're turning into a police state. It's turning into what Gilead in The Handmaid's Tale. Oh, we don't have any autonomous control. Our bodies, our choices, and everything. Okay, your body's your choices. It's fucking Lilly Phillips' body and her choice, and she made that fucking choice, and she is responsible for that. And if you don't say, if you're going to point that out and try to blame it on a guy, start with who initiated it. And it's the same thing like when we're talking about abortion. Like, oh, well, if men would just keep their peckers in their pants, then, there would be less abortion. So you guys, it's really on you. And it's like, no, abortion happens after the sex. I don't know if you guys know this. Mathematically, this is kind of like chronologically, only one person can decide to have an abortion. And it's not the guy. Only the woman gets to decide that. And it's after the fact. And that's the thing is, as soon as that guilt, that association, that responsibility, that accountability, those liabilities, as soon as they are made real for women, that's when they want to retcon it. That's when they want to go back in history. So, it's the men that are like, yeah, but the men don't get to say whether the child lives or dies. You do. That's what we're talking about right here in the now, not what led up to it. Who's making the decision to do that? And that is you. Because if it's your body and your choice and you get to make those things, guess what? You are accountable and liable and responsible for your own choices. No, it's men. They need to have more. They need to step up to the plate. They need to be servant leaders. They need to be whatever. If that's the case, if you want men to be leaders, then guess what? You have to be a follower. Men need to lead. They need to lead in the family. You know what that implies, ladies? That implies a fucking hierarchy. That means there's a guy who's the leader and the other people who are underneath that leader. That's what that implies. There ain't no 50-50 fucking leadership, especially when that guy has to take over the responsibility for your actions that you are insisting that he does.
And if a dozen other people are also to blame, even if in fact the captain didn't screw up, even if the captain did everything right, still he gets the blame. Mm-hmm. And in the old days, he goes down with the ship. Mm-hmm. Even if it wasn't his fault, right? Right? The Titanic hits the iceberg. The captain was asleep. He had somebody else in charge of that. It's not his fault. He's got to go down with the ship. That's the burden of leadership. The burden of leadership is responsibility. And you got, buck stops with me, right? And you got to take blame for stuff that you didn't do. So the only way to look at Lilly Phillips and condemn the men and not her is to say that the men are supposed to be leaders.
Okay, hold that thought. Put me back in. Yeah, we're going to hang on to this one real quick because I want to show you something that's going to bake your noodle. Let me stop sharing that for a second. I'm going to share you something else with you guys. And I don't know if Matt's been reading my shit or not, but I'll tell you, it certainly sounds like he has been. This is, where'd it go? From the Rational Mail. December 30th, 2014 by some guy named Rollo Tomasi. And it's called Mutiny. And essentially what I wrote in this way back in the day was the more or less what Matt was just saying when it comes to the man who is the actual captain of the ship. And he is the one that is expected to go down with the ship, not the first mate, not the scullery wench, not the riggers and the crew. And he's supposed to go down with the ship, right? And this is probably, I don't know if I want to read all through this, but I also want to point out that if you would be so kind as to look at the date right here at December 30th, 2014, right up there. There you go. Yeah. Long before Orion Taraban lifted the mutiny chapter and put it in his book. Thank you very much. So if you want to know where Orion gets his shit, this is where he gets his shit. But it's more or less exactly what I was talking about with what Matt is talking about as well. It's the leadership has a burden. And sometimes if the shit goes down, if things go bad, it's on you as the guy. And that's part of the burden of performance, right? If your performance is not up to snuff, and you fail and you fall on your ass, there are consequences because you're a man and you take responsibility for those consequences. As I was saying before, I don't have a problem with women voting. I don't have a problem with women being in the workforce. I don't have a problem with, quote unquote, female empowerment. What I have a problem with is they're taking responsibility for their own fucking failures. That's the difference. So if you're going to expect me as a man to, kick ass, have ambition, have drive, have fire in my belly, and won't go out and just kill a fucking wild caribou every day, you want me to be that. I also have to accept that there's a sword of Damocles hanging over my head, right? That's the burden of the crown. The burden of the crown is that shit goes down, the king dies dies first. So, but for women, that it doesn't happen. Not in a gynocentric social order, because what they do is they just simply say, well, there's no such thing as a hierarchy. We're 50-50. Well, am I the leader of this marriage, or are we 50-50? Because those two do not, one of those concepts is egalitarianism. Everything's 50-50. Everything's equal. Everything's a participation trophy. Or one of those is you're the leader and you're the man. You're supposed to take care of this. Oh, there's an intruder in the house. Go get the baseball bat. You're supposed to defend me when, people attack me. Okay, fine. If that's the case, then now we're not in the round anymore. We're in a fucking hierarchy, baby. And there comes some liabilities on your part to defer to my authority as a result of that. But that's the problem. The real problem is that under sort of quote unquote, I'm going to say gynocentrism because I hate using the term feminism. Under a gynocentric social order, it promotes the idea that women are entitled to old order privileges and standards and everything else, but also entitled to sort of 21st century new order empowerment as well. That empowerment is drawn from the principle of women being, the way women organize society is in the round. It's in an egalitarian, communitarian from that perspective, right? You want to know why we have fields before reals? It's because we have gynocentrism. It's because when women organize societies, they organize it just as the gatherers in the hunter-gatherer tribe would have organized it. So when you have the berry pickers and you have women who are sort of in this collective, the idea of communitarianism, that's strength in numbers. It worked great for them in our ancestral past. That's why women think that way. That's why women default to communitarianism. They don't default to capitalism or social, or they don't capitalism or hierarchies. That's a male way of organizing society. The female way of organizing society is egalitarianism, communitarianism, and ultimately socialism. So in a larger scale, in a national scale, right? So from a local scale, it's always going to be communitarianism. That's why you get the participation trophy nonsense, right? One for you, one for you. Everybody deserves respect, right? No, do you deserve respect or do you earn respect? Because the earning respect, what makes you respectable, is a hierarchical concept, whereas the everybody deserves respect is respect in the fucking round. So when I'm talking about the differences between the ways that women organize society and men organize society, when you distill that down to one instance, in this case, it's going to be like what Lilly Phillips here. That's why women say it's those men's fault. They're the ones because they want that old school accountability on the part of men. They want to leave the woman sinless, blameless, and agency-less. And if that's the case, if that's what, ladies, make up your mind now. Do you want the men to be held responsible? Because if you do, then congratulations, you're in a hierarchy and you can go fuck yourself on everything else. Okay. If you don't, and if you're going to put some responsibility on her thing, or if you're going to say, well, everybody's wrong. And that's unfortunately, that's where Matt actually leaves us. There's no winners. Everybody's a loser here. It's because of the guys who stroke off to this kind of porn. It's because of the guys who participated in it. And it's because of the girls who have to escalate and they want to do it themselves. And it's like, there's never any like research. There's never any like, hey, let's do a background check on Lilly. There's never like, is she playing us? Is she pandering to us? Like that other red-haired weirdo, Nala. Hey, I wonder if this girl's been on Fresh and Fit. Maybe we should get somebody on our PR team, on our research team, to actually go see what she's been doing in the past. I wonder if there's any video of her going, ah. I thought that was fantastic when that, I think it was think it was Big Mo who made me aware of. Thank you, Big Mo. Wait, there's Big Mo. We got to give Big Mo.
Tell these bitches to go to hell.
There we go. Thank you, Big Mo, for the heads up on that. Yeah, that was funny as hell. But as far as like being the captain of the ship and mutiny and everything else, it's like, well, if that's the case, then we need to have one fucking standard. If you want me to be the leader in the house and as of whatever, then you're going to have to submit to that as authority, because I can't take responsibility for your fucked up actions if I don't have the authority to take responsibility for your fucked up actions. So I'm gonna do one more thing here. I'm gonna let Matt finish this out real quick, because this is actually pretty good. Now, like I said, Matt is sort of coming around finally, and it's I don't have any like fantasies that he's actually going to be a red pill anytime soon, but at least he's starting to sort of parrot back some of the stuff that has been said for a while.
And the leaders take the blame. That's the only way. Which means you have to abandon feminism entirely. You cannot be a feminist and say that Lilly Phillips is being exploited. You can't. The only way to say it is to say that the men are more responsible because they're supposed to be leaders. So any person, any feminist who looks at this as, oh, well, she's the victim, you have abandoned feminism. It's done. You're out. You are out.
Okay, that's where I got to halt this. Okay, we're just real quickly, because I got to throw in my 2 cents here. Matt, it's not feminists. It's your girls. It's the trad femmes. It's the girls on your side of the fucking aisle, my friend, which are all feminists too. See, that's the thing, is like he wants to think that it's like the Laura Dunham, fuchsia haired, purple haired, armpit haired girls that are like out there going, we want men to take responsibility and we don't want it, right? No, it's your girls, Matt. It's the conservative chicks. It's the Hannah Coxes. It's the Natalie, whatever the fuck her name is. It's the Ashley St. Clairs. It's your side of the fence that's doing this. I've yet to see a dyed-in-the-wool feminist come up and say, those men need to be taken to the woodshed and spanked. Nobody's saying that. You know who's saying that? Ashley St. Clair, Hannah Cox, fucking Natalie, whatever the fuck her name is. It's coming from your side. It's coming from the conservatives. And I feel like it's my moral duty to explain this to you, man. Like, you need to go and see what your girls are doing. Because they're the ones they'll be the first ones to say, well, men need to lead, until they don't need to lead. We don't want them to take over our choices. No, there's never been, like, when it comes to like female empowerment, when it comes to like, I called it fempowerment, right? But when it comes to like female empowerment or strong independent women, you will never find a more like adamantly feminist group than conservative women, man. They're the ones that are bringing this up. It's not feminists. Well, maybe it is, in the sense that those women that I'm talking about are conservative feminists. And that's why it just rakes me over the fucking coals whenever somebody says, oh man, those red pill guys, they're just the flip side of the coin of feminists. No, conservative women are actually the flip side of feminists, as we can see right here in example. But the red pill is just fucking laying it out. We just work here, man. Here it is. You can hold up a mirror. You can look in if you want. I can't make you. But that's the problem, is like when guys in the red pill like state something factual, and it irritates either feminist, like lefty wokes kind of ideology, or conservative ideology. That's why everybody hates the red pill. Everybody hates the red pill. because we're here to rub your noses in it. I'm not trying to be a dick about it. I'm just saying these are the facts. And the facts are, at least from the last, I don't know, what, week and a half, since all this shit went down with Lilly Phillips. Like, the thing is the thing about Lilly Phillips is, like, from my perspective, is it's like, it's so egregious, because I can go and just look at her fucking Twitter profile, Matt, for fuck's sake. I mean, just move quickly and then, avert your eyes. I don't know what you have to do so you don't stroke off. But like, I mean, she's literally doing bukkake videos. She enjoys this shit, and you guys are getting played. Michael Knowles, I just talking to you, wherever you are. You're getting played. You're getting played again. Nalafit fucking played you like a fiddle, man, and you're getting played again. That's the thing is, it's like, what is it? Fool me once, my fault. Fool me twice, or fool me once, your fault. Fool me twice, my fault. Guess what? It's your fault, Mike. The thing that's great about this is there's this kind of It's what I call the prodigal son narrative. Like the prodigal son in the Bible, right, is the son who leaves the family, takes his father's inheritance and goes and goes out and parties and has loses it all on hookers and blow, right? And then he comes back and he's like, oh well, it's better to be in my I would rather be like a cleaning the pigs at my father's mansion than being out here because it sucks out here. So he comes back and his father slays the fatted calf and has a big huge party for him and everybody welcomes back in the fold. And that's really kind of the narrative that you see happening with Nalafit. I first kind of became aware of this when Roosh decided to go full Orthodox Christian guy, because it was funny to me to see him on shows where really dyed in the wool evangelical Christians, women were just loving on him. He's the most notorious, pickup artist for the last, almost 20 years, right? Well, 15 years, right? And they just welcome him with open arms. They're not even slightly suspicious of him. And because to be suspicious is to question your own faith. And that's the problem with Michael Knowles is he can't unquestioned, stupidly, uncritically. Well, of course Nala's turned Christian. Of course she's got baptized. Look at her. She's not playing. She is playing you. She's making money while she's on your show. It's the same thing with as more and more people talk about Lilly Phillips. She's planning to do 1,000. That was the next thing I was going to say, is her next goal is to get 1,000 dudes in 24 hours, which by the way, Sam, how much time would it take? How many minutes does each guy get if she's going to get 1,000 dudes in 24 hours? That's the next one. Give me the math on that, Sam. I know you're in the chat. 1,000 dudes in 24 hours. Let's break down. Let's do the math on this. And then she's gonna have to break for lunch, right? It was funny in the video. She's like, what? Kids, the guys, have you eaten anything? She says, well, I think I had a yam yam. What the fuck is a yam? It's a pastry or something in the UK. I don't know. And a sandwich. And that was all she had the whole time when she was knocking it out with 100 dudes, right? And remember, she's doing this, and honestly, I think she was inspired to do this by women like Bonnie Blue, women like Annie Knight, who are, at least to their credit, trying to spread it out over the year, not trying to do it all at once. Maybe that's what sort of wore her out. But let me put Matt back in.
What you are saying, this is as dramatic a statement as you could possibly make, reinforcing the most traditionalist idea of so-called gender norms imaginable, okay? You are saying the men are in charge, the men are leaders, they should know better, they should be guiding her, and they're not. That's what you're saying. The problem is that most of the people involved in this discourse are not willing to admit that.
Nope.
They want to have it both ways, always.
Yep.
They want to have the cake and eat it too.
Including your girls. Including traditionally conservative chicks. By the way, I want to spread this around because this is not a liberal leftist versus conservative thing. This is women in general, because we brought up 4 generations of women in this sort of empowerment shit where everybody's 50-50 until the shit hits the fan, and now you're the captain of the ship and you go down with the ship. You lost your job. I'm divorcing you. You're not the man I used to know. My needs aren't getting met. Let's make up whatever bullshit I can possibly make up. But it doesn't matter. The fact that she's leaving you is because that's a failure. It's a dereliction of duty, right? It's a failure of your leadership. It's a failure on your part to deal with your burden of performance. It was too much for you, and now I'm leaving you, and I'm totally 100% justified in doing so because you're supposed to be a leader. And you think about how many ways you can exploit that idea for leadership or a lack thereof of leadership on part of that guy. Or maybe the guy who is a leader and her choices are limited, or he's going to go and arrange a marriage for your daughter, right? Or even your son, right? Or he's going to take over every aspect of the family business or every aspect of being, because that's what you expect him to be, a leader. Okay, fine. Well, that comes with price. That comes with you deferring to his authority.